So the idea is that if you sing the holy names in order for 5 or 10 minutes, it just cleanses you, cleanses the material energy off you, so that you can then listen to the class with a little bit more spiritual attention, as it were. So we're just going to sing the Maha Mantra for about 5 to 10 minutes, which will give a chance for some other people to turn up. And then I'll do an overview of the Bhagavad Gita. Kim, you're on chapter 15. Is that right?
Yeah. He's read
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the mantra is in the book. So it's on the first page. If you've never come, just to, let me make sure you've got it in front of you. If you don't, it's just literally open the front cover. Yeah. So you can just sing along, and then you know it, of course, because you and I have sung it a few weeks ago. Okay, and I've seen you in Semaphore. So thanks. Well, thanks for joining us. Okay, thanks for the mercy of your association, and I will start now. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Because we've got some new people, I'm going to slightly alter what we were planning to do a little bit, so it might be a bit repetitive, interesting here. But I think that's important, so everyone has a good introductory idea of what Bhagavad Gita is about. Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield between Arjuna and Krishna over 5,000 years ago at the start of what we call Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga is effectively what we call the end of the dharmic period of the previous ages. The previous ages at least were, previous yugas, or at least mankind wanted to live in this world to get back to God. That was seen as the purpose of human life. So everything they did, ideally, would be dovetailed towards God. Okay? And the beginning of Kali Yuga is the rejection of God as being supreme, in simple terms, and the gratification of the senses of the body as being the primarily necessary reason for existence. Okay? So the Bhakti Yoga tradition, or Bhakti or devotion to God, it is about realigning the soul, which is the real entity, and the body is the outer covering. It's realigning that with its original purpose, which was to love and be loved with the Lord. Yeah? And we, in Hare Krishna movement, God is as a person. He's not an imaginary energy or something like that. And God, because he's the ultimate person, has likes and dislikes. And as we progress towards a deeper relationship with God, we understand what those likes and dislikes are, and we build on that relationship. Yeah? And sometimes it can take a few years, sometimes it can take a whole lifetime, and sometimes it can take many births, depending on previous karma. Yeah? And we'll discuss things like karma at a basic level, and then how we've ended up in this body today a little bit, and then we'll probably have time for quite a few questions. Yeah? So a lot of people have come across the Bhagavad Gita, some people have read the Bhagavad Gita, and as I've explained before, that there are different ways of looking at the Bhagavad Gita. So the first important question is, how did everyone end up on the battlefield? So Arjuna ends up being taken between the side of good and evil. There's millions and millions of soldiers. He has to go and kill his own family, and he's overwhelmed by this idea of killing his grandfather and his teacher and his cousins, effectively his cousin brothers. Yeah? And it's a very overwhelming situation. It's very noisy. Krishna takes him into the middle of the battlefield, and he decides that he doesn't want to fight. So Krishna has to get him to fight. You know? So Bhagavad Gita is often wrongly criticized as a book encouraging war. But in fact, once you go through the Bhagavad Gita and get to the final chapter, which is the conclusion of renunciation, you understand that actually the reverse is true. It could be anything but that. Yeah? So what we're going to do is we're going to try and look at the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita, which is always the important place to start, where Dhritarashtra, who's the father of Duryodhana, who's the evil guy, the protagonist, who's taken the land of the Pandavas, is speaking effectively. Yeah? So if we look at this verse, yeah, if you open up chapter 1, verse 1, yeah, and then we'll have a look at this verse, and then we'll do a prayer after we've discussed this verse, and then we'll talk about the verse we're going to speak about today. I apologise if this is the 100th time I've done this. So, depending on what edition you have, so it's chapter 1, verse 1, I think. I'll try and get it in front of me. Have you found it? Yeah. If you tell each other which page it's on, if you found it first. Yeah. Oh, you've got a different version?
39.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Sorry. So Dhritarashtra, who's the kind of father of the evil guy, he's saying to Sanjaya, who's relating to him what's going on the battlefield. After my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, deciding to fight, what did they do? Yeah? And Pandu is the brother of Dhritarashtra, he's died. And Arjuna is basically his nephew. Yeah, Pandavas his nephews. Yeah. Okay, got that verse? All right, okay. So to understand the Bhagavad Gita and to understand why they've ended up in this situation, the indication is given in this verse. So often this verse is read literally, without too much thought gone into it. But actually there's a very profound lesson in this verse, okay? So if you look at the phrase, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage, yeah? Yeah. So the problem is caused by this phrase, after my sons and the sons of Pandu, okay? Okay, and the reason for this is because the sons of Pandu are his nephews, and his sons are his sons. But actually, as a king of the world, and as somebody who understands Dharma, he should not make a distinction between his sons and the sons of Pandu. Everyone should be seen as a part of God, as a soul. Not the bodily, whether I'm a woman or a man or a dog or a sheep, it doesn't matter. I'm the soul, and all souls are part of God. So the distinction is ignorance. You say that my sons, I'm the owner of something, and the sons of Pandu are two different things. Yeah. So this is the illusion that Dhritarashtra is under, and it's that illusion that's got him ended up on the battlefield and everyone having to kill themselves. Yeah? So the Bhagavad Gita is about unraveling this piece of ignorance that starts here, right? And what's going to happen in the first and second chapter is Arjuna, who's a devotee of Krishna, he himself will be put into illusion, yeah, by Krishna to explain the Bhagavad Gita, right? And why he shouldn't fight, yeah? He should fight, sorry. Yeah? So I'll give you a little bit about, if you're new to the Bhagavad Gita, I'll give you a bit of structure. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita is a sandwich, effectively. So the top of the sandwich is the first 6 chapters. The middle 6 chapters are the middle meat of the sandwich. And the final bottom of the bottom piece of bread is the final 6 chapters. There's 18 chapters, okay? So the first bit at the top is called Karma Yoga. Yeah? Karma means action, yoga means to link with God. So how does a human being on this world today link his actions to God? How should he behave? Right? The final part of the bread, the bottom bit, is called Jnana Yoga, which is the knowledge of God and of the 5 topics of the Bhagavad Gita. Right? And the 5 topics are Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity, the soul, material nature, this material world and our bodies that we inhabit, and also time and karma, okay? Of those 5 topics, I'm sorry I'm going a bit fast, one of those is not eternal, which is karma, okay? Yeah, the rest of them are eternal, yeah? So the middle bit of the sandwich is the most important bit, is the middle chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, okay? So the middle chapters are chapter 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, okay? And they are called Bhakti Yoga, the art of devotion to God. Yeah? So basically you learn about Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, and the idea of both of those yogas is to learn how to be a devotee of God and then never have to take birth again in this world. Okay? So we're all suffering from repeated birth and death because of our previous actions. And the actions we're currently doing, we're building up karma without realizing it, particularly if we're in ignorance of God's laws. Yeah? So the idea is that we learn throughout our life, the human form of life is for purification and for getting us back into that position with our relationship with God. Okay, is that okay so far? Yeah. Okay. So what we'll do today is we've done the first 2 chapters with everyone, and we're going into Karma Yoga, and we're going into material nature. So what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of the first 2 chapters, and then we'll move into chapter 4, which is called Transcendental Knowledge. Okay, and that allows us to understand the world. If we don't understand how the soul is pulled by the material world, we won't understand how to free ourselves from the material world. Yeah? Yeah, so those 2 things are quite important. Okay, so let's go to a fundamental question before we start karma. Okay, because these fundamental questions are important for whether you're a Swami or just starting your first day and thinking about religion. You're all in the material world for a reason. Okay? So all the material worlds and material heavens, they exist in the material manifestation. Okay? And that is a one fragmentary part of the spiritual world. Okay? Now what happened is that in the spiritual world there are people that are free eternally. There are souls that are free eternally from material contamination. Okay? So the material world was created out of the desires of the souls to imitate God. Okay? They wanted to envy God. That the ultimate reason is they wanted to go, oh, who's a supreme person that's enjoying? I want to be like that. Yeah? I don't want to play with everyone else. Yeah? I don't want to be the servant of the servant of the servant. I want to play God. Right? So they were put into the material world. The material world is created because of the desires of the embodied souls. Okay? And it basically has two purposes which carry out after life, after life, after life, which is to refine your intentions and reform your conduct. Okay? So your intentions become, eventually after being kicked by the material world, life after life, you start thinking about God, you go to a religious path. As Krishna explains in chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita, there is no invalid religious path, they all manifest from him, depending on the desires of the soul. Okay? And eventually, you'll be inoffensive and you'll reach God as a person. Okay? So therefore, your conduct will change. As you think more about God, you'll go back to your original state and your conduct will change. Yeah? So a lot of people come to our movement and after 3, 4, 5, 10 years, right, they suddenly find themselves a little more peaceful, they're not kinder, they don't get angry at small things, you know, someone cuts them up on a traffic jam, doesn't affect them. They see Krishna's energy working. They can see other souls embodied and how they're being pulled by the material energy. So when we look at karma, we're looking at the actions of the soul that's rebelling. So it's creating more and more adverse effects for itself. Okay? So it's been put into the material world, and depending on whether it's acting for God or for its own pleasure, it will create karma. Okay? So we have these concepts, we call them karma, which results in another body. We have akarma, which is actions which result in no reaction. And we have vikarma, which is actions that result in very bad repercussions. Like, you know, I deliberately hurt a child, for example. You know? So that's called vikarma. It's almost like an evil act. Yeah? And it has very grave consequences in the karmic world. Yeah? And it has implications on how you're going to, basically what's going to happen to you in your next life. But ultimately, Krishna is going to tell Arjuna over the 18 chapters, I don't want you to think about karma at all, because karma is ultimately subject to my rules. These are rules put there to reform people in the material world. So I want you to come subject to my rules. As long as you fight for me, as long as you act with me in your mind, there will be no karma. You know? You'll be free from karma. What we call it above the karma. So we were looking at the different types of yoga in karma that get you away from karmic reactions. That's what we spoke about last week. Yeah? So we have what we call different levels of yoga. Okay, so for most people who are not religious at all, every action is there for their own self-pleasure. So they're playing God, and there will always be a reaction. Okay, then there will be people what we call karma kanda. Okay. It's not karma yoga, karma kanda, which what that means is I go to God because I want something in return. Okay? And Krishna recognizes this is not completely a bad thing. Right? So we have many religions manifesting in the world, depending on the soul's desire, to capture people's desire to improve. Yeah? So different faiths, there's Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, right? And they're all capturing the essence of those souls' desires of previous lives. Yeah? So, and normally people are going to God because they want something. It's an order supplier thing, you know? Knock on your door, hello, not hello, how are you, whatever, give me something. Yeah? Now God is a person, that's not a good way in Bhakti yoga and devotional service to develop a relationship with God, because God doesn't want people to just come to him for when they need something. But nevertheless, because they acknowledge God, depending on their actions, he will give them something, okay, to purify them. So they can satisfy those desires and eventually get rid of them. Okay? So then we have the first level of karma yoga, which is sakarma yoga, which is I come directly to Krishna, because I'm seeking wealth, intelligence, understanding, philosophy of God. Okay? And then we have what's called nishkarma karma yoga, which is I do something, and I don't want anything for myself. Yeah? It's like a charitable act, which has some linking to the divine, not direct bhakti. Yeah? Let's say I feel like cleaning the front of a temple, just for the sake of it. You know? So I do that. You know? and I'm not wanting anything from God. Yeah? So that's a higher level of karma yoga. Yeah? And above that you have bhakti yoga, yeah? Which is I clean the front of the temple, or I tell someone about God because I love God. Yeah? So that's when you transcend from karma yoga into bhakti yoga. Yeah? Depends on the heart. Yeah? And through religious practice, through spiritual practice, the heart gets freed of material contamination, so it becomes less and less selfish. Yeah? That's what we're trying to do. We're here to basically give ourselves the medicine to go back to our original nature, so we become purer, so we become less and less selfish. Selfish in the Bhagavad Gita sense means that we want to put Krishna's pleasure first and our pleasure second. And then that slowly turns us into a pure servant of God. And what we'll discover in that process is what we thought was happiness when we were selfish wasn't real happiness, it was very temporary. Like I got a gold watch and that was good. But after a week or two it gets a bit boring, you know, or a month or two. I got a new car. But what we're looking for, by engaging the soul with its master, we're going to be constantly happy in a much deeper level. It's not a fleeting happiness. Okay? And that's the natural nature of the soul. Okay? So all these karma yogas are designed to get you to bhakti yoga so that you're acting in a selfless way. So the very reason you came out of the spiritual world, which was envying God and playing God, has come to an end, and you're now back in the state you were in the spiritual world, which is just giving. Yeah? So if you look at the very last paragraph of the commentary of the Bhagavad Gita in front of you, okay? If you just read that last paragraph, that is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, okay? So it's right at the end, chapter 18, okay? I think it's after 18.74. Might be after a few more verses than that. I got wrong.
What chapter?
18, the final chapter.
Oh, just the chapter.
Yeah, final chapter.
And the verse.
No, the final verse.
Final.
Final verse, final paragraph of the commentary to the final verse. This is 18.78, forgive me. And if you go to the final paragraph of the commentary, so it starts with a living entity in his original position. No, the commentary, the last paragraph of the commentary. Yeah, yeah. So if you, yeah. Got it, Steve? Yeah, yeah. Right. Once you've done that, reread the final sentence a couple of times. Okay. Sorry? I can't hear you. I thought you saw it, got me. The toilets? Okay, I've got a problem. I can't access the toilets at the moment. I'm going to try. Otherwise, you might have to go to McDonald's, which is down there. Yeah. No, it's just this way. Yeah. Give me 2 minutes. Yeah. Try and use the keys on the outside. The keys don't work without throwing names. Yeah, so just change the locks. So forgive me. Right, okay, so you'll see there that we are moving from pleasure taking to pleasure giving. Yep, so we said this quite a few times. Yeah, yeah. So that is the nature of the soul. The soul will never truly be happy until it becomes a pleasure giver, okay? Not a pleasure taker. And that's the essence, in fact, really of all religions, but specifically in Krishna consciousness, that's what we're trying to do. Get ourselves back to that natural nature. Yeah? And in order to do that, we have to do some religious practice. Chant a few times a day, or even starting off with a minute a day, chant that in a mantra, and occasionally come to a class. Yeah? We're all at different levels, so we'll have different levels of interest, and that actually depends on your previous karma. You'll learn that why you have a certain level of interest and how to then develop that. Yeah? And as you develop that, you'll start feeling a change, a bit of a change. Yeah? Because actually, when you approach the Lord, He is in total control of the material energy. Okay? So it is subject to Him. As soon as He sees a bit of effort, He moves mountains for you to get you towards Him. This whole life is about reforming yourself. As soon as you start, the very purpose of being here, good things start happening. Now, good things means not sense gratification, not what Donald Trump would want. Certainly the electorate. It's about what makes you less envious of the Lord, which is our natural state. Okay. So we can now move into, I apologise about the toilets, by the way, and also the food order. I didn't know you guys are doing Ekadashi.
Yeah.
I messed it up completely. You have to take the food home. You eat it tomorrow. The food, I've messed up the food order.
It's a courtesy anyway, so...
Yeah, so I've ordered, not for myself, but I didn't know you guys were doing Ekadashi, I should have asked you. So I ordered grain food, basically.
Oh.
But you can take it home and eat it tomorrow. Yeah. I have to cook tomorrow. But now I know that you do the fasts. I won't make a mistake next time. Forgive me. Okay, so we're going to look at the class now. Okay, and the first mechanics we're going to look at is how did this world come into being. Okay, so I'm going to use this. One of the things you'll discover when you come to this regularly is I never buy a board rubber. So every week I have the same problem of wiping the board. So pull it out and go, oh, I didn't clean the board. God. Okay. So in this Vedic theory, okay, our desires to rebel against God have created the material universes. Okay, so this is how it happens. Okay? So this is important because if you understand how this happens, you'll understand why chanting the holy mantra, the Maha Mantra, is so effective. Okay? Okay, so a lot of people chant the Maha Mantra for many years, and they don't understand. Wow, it's changing people. But what's the scientific dynamic? Any look?
No, these are all the ones.
Okay, forgive me.
Yeah,
I'll get it right. So okay, so we're just talking about how the material energy was created. Okay, so until universes were created. Okay, so you basically got this thing called let's call it Mahavishnu. Make it easier. Right, so the Mahavishnu goes into what we call a tattva, the material energy, effectively. Yeah, it comes from Krishna as a plenary expansion. Okay, Krishna is able to have 100% expansions, or 90% expansions, or 70% expansions as he wishes to. Okay, and out of the Mahavishnu comes multiple infinite material universes. Okay, to allow the rebellious souls to reform themselves. Okay, and each universe has what we call a Kisora Dasyana Vishnu. I have to see this 1,000 times to even be able to try and spell it, so don't worry if you can't. Yeah, so it's K-S-I-R-I-R-O, backslash Vishnu, yeah? Which is an expansion of this Vishnu. Yeah? And then out of this is what we call the localized Paramatma. Okay, so this is called the sorry, I put it wrong around. And then you get the Kisori Dasai Vishnu. Okay. I'll put this all in the handouts. Don't worry if you don't get it now. Now this Paramatma is the forearm form of Krishna. It exists at the subatomic level. Okay? So every atom, every element, in all the air, it exists. It's controlling how the elements work, okay? And all matter, okay, constantly. And in your heart, you have the soul and the localized supersoul, the Paramatma. Okay? So Paramatma is watching everything you're doing. Okay? Okay? And the Paramatma, through this, is in every single body. Okay? So the Lord is present in every single body, although you're only present in one body. Does that make sense? So he's called a knower of all bodies. Yeah? Okay? And this is very important if you ever want a detailed understanding of why did the bad karma happen. You know? Well, it's because actually the super soul is aware of the karmic histories of those two people, for example, and knows what is allowed to happen between the two of them. Okay? Krishna ultimately never lets go of control. Okay? He allows you to be independent. He watches your actions constantly, but he doesn't let go of ultimate control. He's the ultimate permitter. Okay? That's chapter 13, verse 29 of the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So, what that means is two things. Okay? It's Upadrashta. Yeah? Anumanta. 1329, I think.
Chapter 13, verse 29.
Yeah. I think it's Upadrashta and Anumanta. I'm doing this from memory, so I may have got it wrong. We'll find out. Is that right? Is that the right verse?
One who sees the super soul, is that the right?
Yeah, let's have a look at it. Yeah. Oh. It is a section, right? Get the right one. 13. Oh, okay. If you look at verse 1327, and just read the black text of the next few verses.
Are we still looking for chapter 13?
Yeah, 13. Yeah, go to 27. Sorry, it's 1323. Almost right. Yeah, 1323 is the verse I'm looking at.
Chapter 13.
Verse 23. Did you find it, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the Sanskrit, you'll see two phrases: Anumanta, Upadrishta, and Anumanta. Yeah? So you see that. Oh, yes. If you just leave it there. Just last time we just brought food, didn't we? Okay, so ultimately everything is subject to the oversight of the Supreme Lord through his expansion, yep? Localizing your heart and every atom. Yep? So nothing ultimately happens beyond his permission. And if you want something to happen, you've got to have the karma to make it happen. Yep? Ultimately. Is it bringing it? Yeah, okay. Okay, excellent. Okay, so now, if we chant the holy names of the Lord, the Maha Mantra, in every atom, Krishna is present, and he hears it, particularly when it's chanted with little, even a fraction of sincerity. You can see that, and that purifies you. Yeah? There's a spiritual, scientific reason behind it. Yeah? So that's why the Maha Mantra is so effective, because he's everywhere, and he knows. Now, this is interesting. Another interesting fact, from a theological point of view, is he's the knower of your soul, not just in this life, in all your previous lives. And if you carry on the material energy, he's going to know you furthermore, right? And he's always trying to get you back, right? If you have sung this Maha Mantra once, right, you have started the eternal journey back to Krishna. Okay? 100% guaranteed. As long as you didn't do it with hate. Okay? Even if you did it neutrally. Yeah, that journey is perpetual. Yeah, you've done so many things in your previous lives to get to this point. If this is the first time you've come in the group and done it, to get to this point. Right? That is your pious activities, is allowed you to do this. But ultimately, nothing happens without the sanction of the Supreme. Okay? Does that make sense? Upadrishta anumanta. I am the witness and permitter. It's important. Okay. So, now I'll move on to the technical bit, which I was going to do for the whole class, but I'll start there. So, the handout looks at verse 3.28. Yeah. So, you're going to go to verse 3.28. Chapter 3, verse 28. Yeah.
Is it 28 or 28?
328. Yeah. Tattva vid. Okay. Yeah. The knower of the absolute. Knower of Krishna. Tattva vid mahabaho. Guna karma vibhagyaho. Guna gunasu patanta. Idhamatva nasajayate. Yeah. Don't get too lost in that. I just want to make a general point, firstly, about Bhagavad Gita using this verse. Shrishti, okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to help you?
What did you say, 26?
328. Tattva vid. Yep. Okay. Right. Okay. Just have a look at that first phrase. Tattva vid mahabharata. Tattva vid. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Now, once you've done that, let me know, and then don't look at the book, okay? I want to make a general point.
Are these the Sanskrit words?
Yeah.
Yeah. Translated into English.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to make a point. This is just for people who are reading the Bhagavad Gita regularly, because this is quite an important point. There are verses that are similar to this throughout the Gita, and eventually I'll write them all down for you. Okay, and what those verses are is they tell you what a pure devotee or very good devotee, how they behave. Okay, so if the verse starts off with something like, the knower of the absolute truth, the knower of Krishna does this, then that's what you aim to do at some point. Yeah, there are many verses like this. So there's a verse called 4.9. At 4.9, Krishna says, if you know the transcendental nature of my appearance and my activities on the earth, you'll come back to me. Okay? And it's a really profound statement, because how do I know the transcendental nature? And we'll actually cover that verse and how we know that. Okay, we'll explain that in this course. Okay, and there's a verse like 6.47, very famous verse of Bhagavad Gita, which says effectively, the pure devotee, this is how they behave. They're always thinking of me. They're always thinking about me. They're always resting me. They're not trying to take control of themselves. They're relying on me to do the things for them. They do what they do, but they understand that God is ultimately in control. Yeah. So we look at this. The most common problem today, which it solves for people, is this, okay? Everyone has this problem because of the material energy, okay? Okay? In your life, there are two circles, okay? And this is a circle of influence. If you know this, sorry for repeating it, okay? Circle of concern, okay? So this is what you can actually control. This is what people are worried about. It's always things beyond their control that they get worried about. Yeah? And the person who understands the Bhagavad Gita knows that you act here and you leave this bit to Krishna. So you don't stress. Okay? What's going to happen to if the interest rates rise and my mortgage goes up? Yes, you can plan as you can, but beyond that you can't. You have to leave it to God. You have to build faith, Shraddha, okay, through devotional practice. Okay, so you don't go crazy, like the well up there constantly trying to control. And as Krishna warns you in the Bhagavad Gita, the more you try and control, you're now playing God, which is why you've ended up here, and the more karmic reactions you're going to get. So you're not going to win. You're going to be wrapping yourself up in more and more frustration through karma. Okay, so you want to stick here and begin your devotional life. Okay, that's where you want to be. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So you're going to see these, I'm going to put all these, I don't think anyone's done this actually, I'm going to put all these verses that tell you how to behave. So one who pleases Krishna does this. This is the verse. I'll put them all in a big list. Okay? So you can take them home, and then over a period of a year or two, you can slowly look at them in your leisure. You know, and we're all at different levels. You know, we're all human beings. We're just watching sport, and you just go, let me do 1 minute of just going back to my scripture for a minute before I watch the next bit of sport. And you just add a little bit of God in every your normal habits, and over time they'll have a big impact. Okay, no one's going to become like a saint overnight because you come into this world with all this previous karmic history, which has created this body with its tendencies. Yeah? And with Krishna, through the Bhagavad Gita, you'll learn that actually what elements of your previous karma are taking control. Why is it that you like milk in this particular way, or have an inclination to work in a particular way, or have an inclination to learn in a particular way? That's all created by what we call the modes of nature and karma. Okay, and Krishna has given you that as a sanction. So you can keep going and trying to get closer and closer to it. Okay? So I'll stop here because otherwise we're out of time for questions. Okay? So how is that? Is that all right? Yeah. I'm not sure if I'm overdoing it or underdoing it or boring people. So I'm trying to keep it at a place where everyone can understand. Okay, so any questions? Yep.
You said that we are in this body for karmic reaction. That I get it.
Mm-hmm.
We get all the results according to our karmas, I get it.
Yeah.
But Krishna knows our past,
Yep.
our present, but he knows our future as well. So,
Yep.
like, with this system,
Yep.
like the only thing I ask for myself, I
Yep.
don't know how many lifetimes I have to go again. I don't know.
Hmm.
Like, if he decides, like, no, you have to be there in one lifetime more, so it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to. So what this chanting?
Well, no, it's not. You can't determine whether you're going to be back here or not.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, but what you can do is slowly acknowledge why you're here. And it's that acknowledgement that will get you into more bhakti. Because the biggest problem we all have is that we don't understand that we've made a mistake.
Yeah.
We don't want to accept that. We want to deny God. We've been engineered through childhood to go and enjoy the ice cream for yourself, go and get the toy for yourself. When you go and get a degree for yourself, go and get a house for yourself, get married for yourself, enjoy for yourself, have kids for yourself. That embodies you in the material world. Right? We've been brainwashed. It's very difficult to come out of it. Anybody that even starts this process gets infinite benefit because Krishna knows how difficult it is. It's his material energy, so it's very powerful. Yeah? The smallest step has infinite impact. You know, you're sincerely chanting this mantra just a few times, a handful of times. You know, almost guarantees you human birth if it's done with sincerity. You know? Because the mantra and Krishna are the same. He can be anything. His leg can eat. You know, it's impossible for human beings to understand that because they're so in this bodily conception that God can sing with his ear. You know, but he's God. Of course, he can sing with his ear. He can do anything. He's infinitely powerful. You know, so he has infinite mercy as well. You know, so the smallest sincerity becomes huge because the Lord can make that huge. He's in control. You know? And part of understanding that is letting control go. Oh, if I do this, what will happen to me? If I chant more, what will happen to me? If I chant less? You're not in control, you're still trying to be in control. That's the problem, the faith isn't that. It's got to be letting go. No, I will chant and you decide what you want to do with me. You're in control. That's recognition. Yeah? So it's that process that you need to go through to go, I can only do this and develop sincerity, and that's it, and the Lord will take control. Okay? That's where you want to get to, and then you kind of relax. Because before, like, otherwise you start chanting all night or doing yoga handstands and to get to God and all these crazy activities, right? But ultimately, you have to understand through the text that what the Supreme likes and doesn't like, because God wants a personal relationship with you. He's a person. He's a cowherd boy who plays with the flute. And the reason he's like that, the material energy people would not believe that's God. But that's the whole point. If I say to you, well, I want to be your friend, but I'm only going to come to you when I want something, I need something, that's not a very good friendship. That's not a very good relationship. Well, are you still my friend? Are you still my friend? Are you still my friend? If I chant a bit, are you still my friend? If I come around once a week, are you still my friend? That's what you
what's
can't.
going on.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay. That's you. As long as you are persistent, Krishna will go. Okay, now you've got that level of purity. Open up the next door for you. Yeah, but you have to have the faith. Yeah. Now we know the story about Mother Yasoda and Krishna, and Mother Yasoda was trying to tie up Krishna, right? Because he was being naughty. He was eating the yogurt, butter, sorry. Yeah. And the reason that she kept doing it, she kept trying to tie him up, it wouldn't work, it wouldn't work. Her hair was everywhere, the flowers were on the floor, she's dripping with sweat. And then he goes, now I'll let you tie me up. Yeah? But there's a deep love between them. Yeah? He's seen a deep love. She goes, now I'm the supreme God of gods, I'm going to let you tie me up. That's the benediction I give you. Because you've shown such an effort. Think how much effort, and she's a pure soul, right? So we're quite fallen souls, so we have to put in a bit more. So it's not easy. Yeah? So we have to be humble and go, not I want something straight away, but just guide me. I will keep coming back, no matter how much you kick me in the face. I'll keep coming back, and that sincerity is actually like moving towards real love, right? Yeah, if a boy really likes a girl, keep hanging outside her door, right? Even if she goes, go away, I'm not interested, yeah? And eventually the heart melts, right? That happens, right? Bollywood made millions out of this, right? Yeah. So we know that. So God is the same. The idea of that actually comes from Krishna himself. There is nothing in this world that doesn't come from Krishna. Yeah? They say he's unlimitedly sweet and unlimitedly opulent. You don't need to watch the fake stuff on Netflix. You've got it for real in Krishna. It's all there. Yeah? So I'm sort of ranting a bit, I apologize. Yeah. Anything else?
One thing with that last bit in chapter 18, just that word, I'll read the dictionary, definitely. Renunciation, do you know what that word is? The definition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tyaga.
Sorry?
In Sanskrit, tyaga.
Yaga.
Tyaga.
Oh, but in the English definition of renunciation?
Okay, so chapter 18, okay, so when you look at the Bhagavad Gita, it's like all these words are coded, okay? So I'll give you an example, just forget the book for a moment, okay? So I've been a lawyer for God knows how many years. Because people can read, they think they can read law, okay? They can actually read the law and apply it. But actually the law has specific meaning, it's like translating it into German from English. So that word in that chapter has a very specific meaning, okay? Because it's to do with the question that's been asked at the start of that chapter. Arjuna is asking, what is the difference between a renounced order, somebody who goes into the forest to think about God, and being renounced? What's better, okay? And what Krishna says is being renounced is better, ultimately, in the yoga sense, because when you're in the forest and trying to do something for God, you can be thinking of all sorts of things. You can be eating for yourself and enjoying yourself. Yeah? Whereas if you're acting in this world, doing your day-to-day job, but going, I'm going to give as much money as I can to further the message of God, you'll truly renounce. Because the whole purpose of renunciation is to bring you back to God. Yeah? So that's the answer to the question at 80.2 of the Bhagavad Gita. So tyaga has a very specific meaning. Yeah? But we'll do that like much later on. We need to understand the other 5 core topics of the Bhagavad Gita before we can go to the last chapter and kind of go into the meanings of it. Yeah? And the way I teach, I normally repeat things constantly. So if you just keep attending like once a month or whatever, you pick it all up. Because we go back and start again. Because we need to keep doing that. And they say that when you start one of the signs of progress is you give these classes and explain these things for yourself. Yeah, and I'm only able to do this because if I thought I knew everything, I wouldn't do it. You know, because explaining it is also a way of learning it. You know? I should tell my law students that I'm actually learning more than they are in my classes, you know? Because they're some of them really clever. They come up with really crazy ideas. I was like, well, how do I deal with that question? You know? So you'll be very humble. And actually, every person in this room is amazing. They're a spirit soul, which is part of Krishna. They've started their journey towards Krishna. So I always have to be humble. I have something to learn from all of you. And you might be shy at the moment and not be telling me everything, but hopefully at some point I'll get that blessing of learning something from you, or maybe learning a lot from you. You know, I can't assume. You know? And at the same time, I have the mercy of your presence, which has allowed me to do this bhakti, which is you've been enormously merciful to me by being here. And that's the way you've got to see these interactions. You know? So then you'll get more progress and knowledge. Anything else? Hare Krishna. Thank you.